discuss the possibility of CIA involvement in the break-in?
I assured Mr. Gray that the CIA had no involvement in the break-in, no involvement whatever. And it was my preoccupation consistently from then to this time to make this point and to be sure that everybody understands it. It doesn't seem to get across very well for some reason, but the agency had nothing to do with the Watergate break-in. I hope all the newspaper men in the room hear me clearly now.
Ambassador Helms, I'd like to move then to June 23rd, 1972.
Well, it seems to me, Mr. Helms, that there might well have been concern as to the role of the FBI or the CIA by all parties involved at this particular time, right after the break-in in June of '72, if in fact one of the persons who had broken in was at that time on retainer by the CIA. Did you know at the time of your conversation with Mr. Haldeman and Mr. Ehrlichman on the 23rd that Mr. Martinez was in fact on retainer?
I don't recall. I imagine I may have. But that doesn't mean that the CIA was involved in the burglary.
No, sir. No, sir.
I don't think you ought to put words in my mouth.
I didn't think I was. The issue seems to be whether or not there was legitimate concern with regard to either, at that time, whether the CIA was involved in the burglary or whether or not other covert CIA activities might be exposed, or whether or not Haldeman and Ehrlichman, quite frankly, were using this as an excuse to cover up the Watergate investigation, which also, quite frankly, has been widely implied, to say the least. And McCord was a former CIA agent. Hunt was a former CIA agent. Martinez was on retainer at the time of the break-in. Now, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Breaking and entering and not getting caught is a very difficult activity. And for it to be done properly, one has to have trained individuals who do nothing else and who are used to doing this frequently and are trained right up to the minute in how to do it.
Was McCord in that category?
Obviously not.
Well, obviously the result would not bear that out, but you see what I'm searching for, whether or not he was, in fact, proficient, notwithstanding that his performance was not proficient.
That was not his function in the agency as I ever recall it. It was to do this kind of thing.
How often does the CIA help out former employees in the loan of equipment, as in the case of Mr. Hunt?
Well, I can only say, Senator Gurney, that this was an extraordinary exception. And it was done because we had been asked to do it by the White House.
Has it ever been done before, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
We've got Hunt, we've got McCord, we've got Barker, we've got Sturgis, we've got Martinez, we've got 2 sets of forged identity documents, we've got a voice-altering device, we've got a wig, we've got a camera and a tobacco pouch, we've got the processing service for that, we've got the certain knowledge that all these things were discussed between White House staff and CIA staff, and I wonder if that doesn't lead us to the idea that when these people are caught, that somebody would certainly say, well, what was the CIA involvement in? At the moment you found out this stuff had been issued or this support supplied by CIA, did you do anything to investigate what it was used for?
No, sir.
Why didn't you?
Frankly, it didn't occur to me.
You knew a day after this happened that 2 or 3, 4 of your former FBI CIA agents, and one of them still on the payroll, was involved. Did you launch yourself an investigation to see what was going on?
About the Watergate burglary? Certainly.
Yes, sir.
Certainly.
What'd you do?
Well, we checked on all these people, their relationships with our people, their relationships with the agency. We went through all of that and turned all that material over to the FBI.
Did you go talk to these people? Did you pick up the phone and say, what in the world's going on?
No, sir. We never talked to any of them, as far as I'm aware.
But you had people in the CIA that you later learned had supplied these wigs and voice-altering devices and cameras and processing equipment and aliases and forged documents. Did you go to the people inside the CIA and find out how come they did it and for what purpose? You say it was not for the Ellsberg thing. I'm consumed by curiosity. What else was going on? What was it used for?
I don't know what they were used for.
Well, what I'm saying is, why don't you know? Why didn't you find out?
Because I thought, frankly, that when these individuals had been arrested, that was the FBI's job.
And so did the White House. Thank you.
Wasn't it the FBI's job?
Well, maybe it was, but I've used the analogy once or twice, and I feel a little ill at ease using it. If I had someone on my staff who was caught red-handed robbing a jewelry store, let alone the Democratic National Committee headquarters, and I read about it in the newspaper then or later, I have a hunch that I would have jumped up and down and screamed until I found out what happened.
I have no reason to question that you might have, sir.
But I have no reason to question that you might have too, and that's why I'm asking why you didn't.